Welcome to Adventures in Freeze Drying. Today, we're going to make a twist on that quinoa honey lime bar that I made not too long ago. My husband thought it'd be really good with some yogurt added to it. So we're going to try 2 different ways of adding yogurt to this recipe, and we'll get right at it in just a second. I have 1 cup of quinoa cooked with 2 cups of water, already cooled and in my mixing bowl here. I'm going to add approximately 1 cup of cut in half blueberries. Because when you're freeze drying, you don't want those fresh blueberries to go straight in. You either need to poke them, cut them, something. I cut those in half. About 1 cup of diced strawberries. And this time I'm using 1 cup of diced peaches. And those are fresh peaches. It's that time of year. Yum, yum. So I will mix these together, and then we're going to make our honey lime dressing to add to this. I've got this mixed together really, really well. The next step is making that honey lime dressing, which is simply 2 tablespoons of honey to 2 tablespoons of lime juice. And I'm going to leave the mint out of it this time. Now that that dressing is all mixed up, I'm going to pour it over my fruit and my quinoa and really get this stirred together well to really get that spread through this. Last time I was in the middle of winter and still using frozen fruit, so I do think this will be just a better product in general because none of this has been frozen. It's all fresh in-season fruit, which makes a huge difference. Quality into the freeze dryer equals better quality coming out of the freeze dryer. The first way I'm going to try incorporating my vanilla yogurt is simply to put some on my tray, put the quinoa and fruit over it and kind of push it down into the yogurt. We'll add my dividers and do it that way. The second tray, I'm going to add the same amount of yogurt to the quinoa and fruit and then mix it really well and spread it out on the tray and add my dividers. So we'll see which we like best when they come out of the freeze dryer. I'm going to use about half a container here, I think. So this recipe before filled 2 medium trays just fine. So half a container of this large 32-ounce one would mean you would need 2 of them if you wanted to double this recipe to make 4 medium trays of quinoa bars. So we're going to finish getting this spread out, and then we'll add the quinoa on top. Now we'll add about half of this quinoa on top. I'm going to have to sprinkle this more on top, then just fill the tray and move it around. Since I don't really want to move all that yogurt around, I want to try to get the quinoa and fruit spread out across the top as I go. And then kind of pushing it down into the yogurt so they will stay together as I bring them out of the pan and be more of a bar. Think healthy granola bar without any of the extra fats and preservatives and things that you just don't want. So I'm going to go ahead and set this tray aside, and then we're going to add the yogurt to the rest of this, mix it all together, and add it into my second tray. I've mixed the yogurt in this time. And then because it's already mixed in, we will be able to just add it all to the tray and then use my spatula to spread it out as evenly as I can. So my bars will be about the same size per serving. The stackers from Freeze Drying Supplies do work with the dividers, which is nice. And I put my dividers in their 20 portion setting. They'll do up to 40 portions, but I like these being a little bit more of a granola bar size and shape. So I'm using my 40 portions. And then my other tray will go right on top, and we'll push the dividers into this one too. My medium machine is several years old already, and it does not have a tray sensor on every rack. I have never, ever worried about only doing a partial load. Yes, obviously, electricity-wise, you're better off doing full loads. But if you're going to try something new and it's an experiment, do you want to put 4 trays worth of something in that you're not sure about? It does not hurt for me to run my freeze dryer with only 2 trays in it. And will actually speed up the cycle quite a bit because there's way less food. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and put this in my freezer, and then we'll see these when they're coming out of the freeze dryer. I'm just going to use the standard settings from the company, except I always add 24 hours of extra dry time. But we'll see these when these are coming out of the freeze dryer. My machine's been running for almost 45 hours and most of my extra dry time. That way I didn't have to get up in the middle of the night to deal with my food. So let's go ahead and remove our experiment and see how it went. This is the tray that we kind of pushed down into the yogurt, did not pre-mix. It feels pretty solid. My dividers are going to come out okay. I feel like they're holding together better than when I just did the quinoa. So I'm going to take these upstairs and we'll do a taste test. And this is the quinoa I pre-mixed with the yogurt, so it's mixed clear through. The dividers are coming out a little bit easier. So we'll see again. We'll take these upstairs and do a taste test. It has been actually a couple of days since I pulled our quinoa and yogurt bars out of the freeze dryer. The ones in here I mixed with the yogurt, and they look a little bit different. They held together really well. They came out of the pan really well. So as far as just wanting to hold together as a bar, those held together really, really well. The ones with the yogurt on the bottom, I haven't used parchment, and they came out a lot rougher. I got a couple out as full bars, but they stuck to the bottom of the pan and were breaking apart. They're just not quite as stable. So if you wanted the bar to hold together, mixing it with the yogurt first and spreading it out might be the better idea. I think these look cooler though. So if I'd put my parchment down, they probably would have held together a lot better and you'd have a cooler looking bar. As far as flavor goes, let's find out what I think here. So this is one where I just had the yogurt spread on the bottom of the pan, pushed my quinoa stuff into it. It's good. But what's this one like? Okay. The biggest difference to me is there's a more consistency and flavor and texture with this being mixed all together. There's more bursts of flavor of the yogurt and then the quinoa with it just being pushed down into the yogurt. Both will work. Both are good. If you want them to hold together better, I think mixing it's the win. If you want them to be prettier, I think pushing them into the yogurt. So both ways are a good possibility. You choose. Thank you for joining me on Adventures in Freeze Drying. You can find this and all my recipes in freezedryingcookbook.com. My dividers and my tray stackers all come from Freeze Drying Supplies. We'll see you next time.